What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another podcast here on the Sports Talk with Hawk channel. Welcome in. Hopefully you're having a absolutely beautiful weekend. The weather here is getting up to the mid 60s here in the Midwest, so hopefully the weather where you are at is beautiful and you can enjoy some outside time. It's sunny, basically no clouds, so actually a really beautiful day. And welcome in. As you can see, we've got the Browns snapshot, and it don't look promising. I will give you that. If you're a Browns fan and you're worried about where this team may end up, yeah, absolutely, 150%. I think at this point in time, it's almost like you should really just break it down and rebuild. It really is, because at this point, the cap space is bad. The cap space is just bad. And let's just not even delay. First of all, huge shout out to Draven. He's done a lot of the graphics. So the graphic that was at the end, the stadium graphic where the lights go out, was created by him. I've got a couple other graphics that are created by him, and he just created a full-length theme song for the podcast, and the cut-down version is what you heard on the intro. So absolutely huge shout-out to Draven. Love what he does. Love the graphics that he makes. He loves tinkering and playing around with stuff, and everybody that's around him just ends up being able to benefit from it. So huge shout out to Draven before we get in. I love it. Absolutely love the theme song. Killer. Awesome job. Thank you, Draven. Appreciate it, man. But let's get into what the Browns are. The Browns are in trouble. Right now, it's just not looking good. Let's go through the free agent list first. So I've got the free agents, the pending free agents right here in front of me. So here's who you've got right now. You got Jedrick Wills. You've got Jameis Winston, Nick Harris, Nick Chubb, Elijah Moore, Naheem Hines, Jordan Atkins, Maurice Hurst, Devin Bush, Rodney McLeod. You've got Jerron Christian, Tony Brown, Michael Ford. You've got a total of 28 free agents. And the cost on them isn't bad. But who are you going to be able to re-sign? Like, that is my legitimate question here. Bailey Zappi is a restricted free agent. He makes just under $1 million. I don't know what you're going to do. And I'm sure that every single conversation that has the Browns in it, everything's going to start with Deshaun Watson. Here's what I would do. You have the second pick in the draft. And I know Browns fans probably won't like this option. So I know that ahead of time. Don't bite my head off for saying this. I know this ahead of time. Camera's off. There we go. I know this ahead of time. But I would absolutely cut Watson. I don't think you can trade him. I really don't. I think he'll be signed by another team. He'll clear waivers because they're not going to pick up the contract. Unless you can work a trade. And I'm just throwing this out there. Unless you can work a trade where, let's say, you pay $30 million of Watson's salary for the next 2 years. And they come in and pay their part of whatever would be left after that, which I think is like $12 million a year. If you could pull that off, there are plenty of teams that will give Watson a flyer for $10 million this year. Honestly, I think Pete Carroll with Las Vegas would do it. I really do. I think Pete Carroll in Las Vegas would do it. Maybe even potentially Tennessee. But Tennessee's going to get their quarterback in Cam Ward. I believe it's going to be Cam Ward. I don't think Shedeur Sanders fits what Callahan wants to do down there. Cam Ward is a lot like Anthony Richardson, but he is definitely more polished, more starts, better composure. He does have the edge to him, but he's a more talented, more complete Anthony Richardson. Absolutely huge arm. I mean, huge arm. So I like the Cam Ward pick for the Titans. I really do. But there are a lot of teams that need a quarterback. If you're not gonna grab Shedeur Sanders, why not trade it? Why not trade it? Can you trade Watson and trade the number 2 pick going back and wait for next year? Get a future draft out of this. This is kind of my out-of-the-box idea. I don't know which team would do it. There are quite a few teams that need to win now. They're in a year where they have to win now. So maybe a team like the Raiders, maybe a team like the Dolphins, maybe a team like Jacksonville. I don't know what Cohen's going to do. Maybe a team... Let's see, what would a 4th team be here? Maybe a team like the Cowboys. And you know what? I would... Okay, here's an idea, and I just thought about this. If the Cowboys wanted the 2nd pick in the draft to draft Shedeur Sanders, that'd be hilarious. But if they wanted the 2nd pick in the draft, what you could do is you could trade with the Cowboys for next year's 1st and 3rd round picks, because I think the Cowboys are going to be top 5 next year. So you could have a scenario where you will draft 2 top 5 picks in the 2026 draft. I know it's looking ahead, but let's be honest. Negative $39 million in cap space. Negative 39. You're the worst. You are the worst team when it comes to cap space. You can't tell me that there's a way around this. Like, I know people can play around with money and do everything, but you've got a bunch of unrestricted free agents, and they don't cost a bunch each. You're not losing $15 million contracts. You're losing tops. Jedrick Wills is $4 million a year. I'm sorry. I think you really do need to play it out. Give Stefanski a 5-year extension. He's the guy to be able to bring it back around. Understand that this year is not going to be what you want it to be. If you want to try to run it with Watson, go ahead. I tried to trade him. I tried to do what I said. You pay $30 million this year and next year, you got $30 million dead cap in a sense. And the team picks up $12 million this year and next year. To me, that's probably one of your better options you're going to have. I just don't see a way out of this. I've been looking and looking and looking because I love Kevin Stefanski, but they have really put themselves behind the 8 ball, kind of like the New Orleans Saints did. The Saints have been notorious for kicking the can down the road. If you remember, without Dak Prescott's deal, because of how Dallas did everything, Dallas was going to have over $45 million in dead cap, even though he was a free agent, because of how they played his contract out. I'm sorry. At some point, when everybody ends up, when it's time to pay the piper, you just got to do it and take your lumps. This year was a bad year. Watson gets hurt. You don't have a quarterback. You don't have a Flacco. Winston, he can throw for 5 touchdowns, but he'll throw for 10 interceptions at the same time. Why not run him back with Jameis? I know there's a lot of Browns fans that don't want to hear that. Jerry Jeudy and Jameis had a good rapport. And Njoku. If you can get a better running game, so let's look at some of the stats. So, got the stats right here. So let's look at what they were in 2024, where they need to improve for 2025. And some of these numbers are kind of going to shock you. They did me. They were 28th in total offense at 301 yards a game. 301. That's bad. They were 22nd in passing offense at 206, and they were 29th in rushing at 95 yards a game. They averaged under 100 yards a game on the ground. Nick Chubb being hurt, he's a free agent. I'm sorry at this point. I would bring him back on a 2-year deal, but it'd be an incentive-laden deal. He wants to retire with the Browns. I'd bring him back, give him $2 million a year, incentive-laden deal, see if he can stay healthy. If he doesn't want it, then you got to let him walk. And I love Nick Chubb. I absolutely love Nick Chubb. But injuries have to factor in when you're negative $39 million in cap space. So, 29th in rushing, they averaged 15 points per game. That is a recipe for losing right there. Only going to score 15 points a game. Now, defensively, they were 19th in the league at 342 yards allowed per game. So not horrible. 40 more yards allowed per game. Also, they were 12th against the pass. 212 yards a game against the pass. 21st against the run at 130 yards a game against the run. They allow 25 points per game. Listen, there is a way to fix this really, really quickly. I don't think you can do it in one off season. I think you can set yourself up. As you see, they've got 9 picks in the draft. They've got a lot of ability to start building for the future. This is the year. Take a dead cap year. Clear out all the extra junk. Get these 9 picks in, 8 picks, whatever you end up doing if you trade one away. Get them in and look at 2026 as the year that you're going to be able to fight. The Steelers are going to be in trouble. The Bengals and Ravens aren't going anywhere, and you're not competing with the Bengals or Ravens right now. There is no way for you to compete. You look at turnover differential, this was shocking. Negative 22. Negative 22 turnover differential. They had 4 interceptions. They had 8 forced fumble recoveries. But they gave away 23 interceptions and 11 fumbles. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. They've got the 2nd pick in the draft. Trade it to the Cowboys. Go fleece Jerry Jones. Because if he doesn't believe that Schottenheimer is going to get them to win, you'll know if he says no. Who says no to the 2nd pick in the draft? Especially if he thinks they're only 1 or 2 pieces away from winning a Super Bowl. Go fleece Jerry Jones. He's not that smart right now. Let's just be honest. He's lost his football smart. His football savvy is not the same as it used to be. Go get him. Go get him. And get a 1st-round pick in 2026 that's probably going to be a top 5 because Brian Schottenheimer's, he hasn't called plays well since the Jets. And if you remember with the Jets, those were the Rex Ryan teams. The teams that had an absolutely stout defense, a very good offensive line, stout running game, suboptimal quarterback, but the offense was run through the ground game. You can't do that in Dallas. Schottenheimer is not going to do any good as a play caller. Eberflus is the defensive coordinator. Okay. If he had a real coach, I'd say Eberflus is a fantastic pick for him. I thought if McCarthy took the New Orleans job, bringing in Eberflus to run the defense down there would have been a great job. Which now McCarthy has pulled his name out. He's waiting for next year. He's going to take a year off. I can't blame him. Jerry Jones is kind of tiring. Take a year off and relax. So there's what the Browns look like. Another big question is going to be, what do you do with Myles Garret? Is he a luxury that a bad team does not need to have? I think that's what you really have to figure out. What if you get a future first-round pick for him too? What if you load up for 2026? Listen, it worked for the Texans. It worked for Washington. Loading up on first-round picks in a draft where you know the talent will be there is not a bad move. It's not tanking. It's knowing that you have what you need. With the way the salary cap is, this is why I don't understand when people are like, well, they're tanking for him. Look at the salary cap. If you're going to have a dead cap year, have a bad year, just have one. Get your dead cap out of the way. Stop pushing the dead cap down 3-4 years down the road. One dead cap year. Get it all out. Next year, have cap room. Be able to bring in free agents. Be able to bring in all those rookies. Rebuild this team. And have a team like the Texans that wins 10 games a year, that is exciting, that is fun, and that you're going to be able to get behind if you're the city of Cleveland. I know they're in a dispute. The Browns are trying to get the new stadium. They're trying to get different things right now. They know they need something. I think you need to take a reset. If you can trade Garrett for a first, which I know you can, there are teams will absolutely give you a future first-round pick for Garrett. Load up on it. Load up on 2026 picks if you are the Cleveland Browns. I think that's the best move. I really do. All right. Another snapshot down. I'm not sure what the next snapshot team will be. I guess we'll find out tomorrow because I'm not really sure which one I'm going to record next. So we'll see what happens. But for now, have an absolutely fantastic, this will release on Monday. So have an absolutely fantastic start of the week. Hopefully you guys have good weather where you're at. And make it the best week you can. I will talk to you guys tomorrow with another snapshot here on the Sports Talk with Hawk podcast. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to like the podcast for me. It does help out the channel, and I deeply appreciate it. And until next time, for Sports Talk with Hawk, I'm Hawk, and I'm out.